Alright, how's it going? I'm that ginger photographer. I'm just making a really quick video today on speeding up Lightroom Classic or Lightroom, whichever one that you use. If you're anything like me, you just use Lightroom with one catalogue and all your pictures for that year sit in that catalogue. So for me, I've got a catalogue in Lightroom just called 2021 and all the pictures from this year so far are sat in there. And the busier I've got over the summer, I've been adding more and more images to that, and it's got to the point now where there's 130,000 images in there and Lightroom's taking about 20 minutes to load up. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that's worked for me in order to speed that up so that when I click on Lightroom it pretty much opens straight away now. So this is my view as soon as I open Lightroom, and as you can see just from this summer alone, these are all the weddings that I'm still working on, and there's still over 70,000 pictures in the catalogue. 2 days ago this was 130,000 pictures, so every time I opened Lightroom Classic it'd have to load 130,000 pictures, and I think that was the main chunk of what was taking so long. So the first thing that I've started to do whenever I've finished a job and I'm in Lightroom here like this, I'll just right click on the folder that's finished and I'll click export this folder as a catalogue. I'll then go to the folder where those RAWs are kept. So for me they're on the external hard drive, they're in a folder called RAWs. This job's the 15th of the 1st, so I'll go into this job 15th of the 1st and I'll just call the catalogue SF. Sometimes build include smart previews. Here it'll be checked. Don't check that. All you're doing there is creating smart previews and you're making the catalogue bigger than it needs to be. You've already got the RAWs. Basically what you're doing when you're exporting this as a catalogue is you're just saving all your edits, you're saving all the changes you've made, you're removing it from this big catalogue, this 2021 catalogue, and you're creating its own catalogue. So once that's exported as a catalogue, all I'll then do is I'll right click on that folder and click remove, and that'll remove that from this 2021 catalogue. It'll remove these 326 images from Lightroom from this catalogue, but it won't delete the files. They'll still be in your folder of your RAWs. It just means that it's loading less images when it loads up. And then all it means is if you were to go into one of these RAWs folders where you've got all your RAWs from the original shoot, you'll have a folder like this. Here's one that I saved, SF for Sugar Finery. Click into that and here's the catalogue, and all that's in there is those RAWs from that job with those edits. So if you ever get a customer that comes back to you saying, can I have this picture but can I have it full resolution, you don't have to re-edit that picture again. Here's the catalogue with all the changes that you made just for that job, but you're removing it from your main catalogue. It just means that it's loading a lot less images. Some people work from one catalogue for each job, so every job has its own catalogue. I can see this being a lot faster as well. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just prefer this way because all my current jobs are just in one folder. I'm not having to go and hunt down the job that I'm looking for. Everything's just here in one place, and once it's done I'll remove it from this catalogue. So I started doing that. I removed about 90,000 pictures. There's still 70,000 images to load and it was still running quite slow. So the next thing I'd done, I didn't actually know this myself, I found it online. So I came up to the top here, clicked Lightroom Classic, went into preferences, under performance I just clicked optimize catalogue. I'm not entirely sure what that actually does, but it tells you here if it's been running slowly and you haven't optimized it recently. Well, I'd never actually optimized it. It says it may improve performance, so I just clicked optimize. It took about 10-15 minutes. Didn't really notice much of a difference, but it must have done something good because it's there as an option. Didn't notice a massive jump in performance or anything like that. Another thing that I done was probably too little too late, but the last few weddings that I've been importing into this catalogue, I've started building smart previews for. Lightroom doesn't have to load so much data. You've got this smart preview. It's a much smaller file size, easier for Lightroom to work off. So I've been creating smart previews on import now. Like I say, it's probably too little too late, but that's something that I've been doing. I could have gone back through and created smart previews for all of the images, but that would have took absolutely ages. And then all I'd done was I went into preferences, I came down to here and this option was unticked and I just ticked that. It says use smart previews instead of originals for image editing. That means if you've got smart previews created for your pictures, you're editing off those instead of the originals, so it's loading that little bit quicker because you're using the smaller file size versions. Even though all the quality is still there, you probably wouldn't even notice any difference. The output that you need the original for, so when you're exporting them, that's when you need the original. You can work from smart previews. They're a tiny file size. You can make your catalogue really small so you can edit on the go using smart previews. So after doing all this, Lightroom was still taking about 10 minutes to load on startup. I'd turn the Mac on, Lightroom would be the first thing that I'd click on, and it'd still be really slow. It'd be like I say 10 minutes. So the last thing I'd done, which has made a hell of a difference, it's Lightroom now loads in about 30 seconds and all the images are loaded at once, and it's to put the catalogue for 2021 onto my actual Mac rather than working from an external hard drive. Every time I was opening Lightroom, it was having to load that catalogue from an external hard drive, which is way slower than having the actual catalogue on the hard drive inside the Mac. So I've got an SSD drive in the iMac. I had that upgraded, and I literally just dragged my Lightroom catalogue from 2021 into my documents folder. So it's just sat in here now. So here's all my smart previews, my catalogue here. So I just dragged everything into the documents folder and I removed it from the external hard drive. As you can see, it's still sat in my bin because I was panicking. I didn't know if it was going to work, so I've left it in the bin so that I can restore it if I need to. But I've took it off the external hard drive. I went to open Lightroom Classic. It said it couldn't find the catalogue. Do I want to use a different catalogue? Even though I knew that the copy was now on the internal hard drive. So I just went into the documents folder and I opened this catalogue instead. And that's now this. This is what you're looking at. I did get an error message come up, which was this. And it said it was encountering an error when it was looking for the preview cache. So all I had to do to get rid of that was I took this and I just dragged it to the trash bin so it was gone. And then Lightroom, when it opened again the next time, it just created a new one of those preview files, whatever that is, and that solved the issue. And honestly, after doing this, Lightroom's now opening within 30 seconds and all the pictures there, all 70,000 pictures are just there, ready to edit straight away. So if there's one piece of advice I can give you, biggest piece of advice for speeding up Lightroom or Lightroom Classic, it's to have the catalogue that you're using on your internal hard drive. Don't be using a USB, don't be using an external hard drive. And like me, if you're already editing on an external hard drive, you've already got your catalogue on an external hard drive, just drag a copy onto your Mac, onto your internal hard drive and edit from that, and I can guarantee you'll see a massive difference there. So that was quite in depth. There's probably quite a lot to take in there. I hope you understood all of that. If you found anything confusing or you want me to clarify anything, or if you've got any tips even, just leave it in the comments and I'll answer wherever I can. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.